Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Mandy Goodset, and I will be the moderator for this session titled AI Fridays, a low barrier event for AI awareness and education. So before we start, I have a few reminders. We do have a code of conduct that we will adhere to for this session, and I'm going to post the link to that in the chat right now. If you experience any issues related to conduct or other questions, please go ahead and contact us via email at galeconferencessupport@googlegroups.com, and I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Please be sure that your microphone is muted during the Q&A. Please wait until you're invited to unmute before verbally asking your questions or making your comments. You can use the Q&A to put in questions throughout the session or the chat, and then at the end, I'll kind of facilitate sharing those with our speakers to get your questions answered. Just so you know, the session is being recorded, and you can enable captions by clicking on the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Erin Nichols, Interim Director of Access Technology and Multimedia Services, Gary Atwood, Interim Director of Dana Health Services Library and the Coordinator of the University Library Systematic/Scoping Review Program, and Stacy Knight, Systems and Technology Services Librarian, all at the University of Vermont Libraries. Please join me in welcoming Erin, Gary, and Stacy.
Thank you. I guess I'll get the party started here. I just want to note that we did make a small change to our event title. So it is now AI Fridays, a low barrier event for AI awareness and exploration. When we submitted, we had the word education in there, and we thought better of it as we were running through the presentation, because really the whole theme of AI Fridays really is giving our users and our colleagues a chance to explore various AI tools. So with that, we changed the title slightly. Okay, so who are we? I'm Erin Nichols. I serve as Director of Access Technology and Multimedia Services at UVM Libraries. I also serve as Acting Dean temporarily. Stacy?
Yep, I'm Stacy Knight, Systems and Technology Services Librarian at UVM. Been here about 2 years. Gary?
Hi, and I'm Gary Atwood, Interim Director of Dana Health Sciences Library, and I've also been involved in a number of AI-related initiatives here at the university.
Okay, so for our presentation today, Gary's going to kick it off by talking about some of the factors that led to AI Fridays. So these are sort of actually dueling administrative, I guess, ambitions that folks had for the libraries and AI. Stacy is going to talk a bit about some of the ideas and guiding principles that went into AI Fridays. I'll talk a bit about logistics and promotion, which are quite light, and that's by design, because the whole point of AI Fridays is really to have a low barrier, low stress event. Then the three of us will describe some of the AI Friday events that we and our colleagues hosted, and then we'll wrap up with takeaways, opportunities, and some questions and discussion. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Gary.
Thanks. So we thought that it might help to give you a little context regarding how we do technology here at UVM. And I don't think it's any understatement to say that we are a risk-averse technology culture. There's lots of reasons for that. I won't bore you with those reasons, but I think the thing to keep in mind as we sort of work through this presentation is that we do things pretty cautiously, usually. And this actually kind of manifested itself in our campus-wide AI committee. It's huge. There's like 3 or 4 dozen people on it. It's slow moving. And kind of when we first got going through the first year, we kind of immediately went to like, oh, what are the risks involved in this because of our culture? And it wasn't really until this past spring where we kind of moved beyond that and got to the point where we could actually think about like, well, how can we do some innovative things, and how can we educate ourselves about this? And the other thing to keep in mind, and Aaron sort of alluded to this earlier, is that we really had from our leadership, both here at UVM and kind of our professional leadership, like a pressure to do something about AI and to kind of get out there and innovate. So that's kind of the background. And so next slide, please. And so the libraries were a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of AI. And one of the ways that we did that is something called Try AI Day. It's a 2-hour sort of professional development workshop that I created and hosted about a year ago, last March. And some of the thinking came from this idea that we were seeing lots of survey information. Professor Leo Lowe from New Mexico was a good source of that, where librarians and staff were saying, I'm not really engaged with AI very much because for a lot of reasons. I don't have time, there's enough money, I'm not sure if it's okay for me to do this. So there were lots of barriers for people to kind of get engaged with it. So therefore, our goal with Try AI Day was to just literally provide some protected time in kind of a relaxed space for people to just experiment with some AI tools. The whole goal was for it to be, just as stress-free as possible. To facilitate that, we opened it up. The attendance was available to anyone in the libraries, and we had everyone from the dean of libraries to, librarians and staff from all of the units on campus that were there. And I think we were pretty successful. I mean, the post survey showed that 88% rated the workshop as very effective. And what I felt was more important was that 63% said that they were somewhat confident about using AI tools, and then 25% said they were very confident, highly confident. So that was great. And the other thing to come out of that exit survey information is that people really said they wanted us to do other Try AI Day sessions for other groups on campus. So put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Next slide, please. But again, just to sort of give you a sense of what we used that day, I tried to pick an AI tool that was kind of represented some general categories that I honestly kind of made up. So, we had ChatGPT was sort of your general multi-purpose AI tool. Stable Diffusion and Bing were to create images, which the image thing that was the thing that people loved the most, of course. Runway was for video, Elicit was for academic oriented AI. But again, the goal was you don't have to think about which tool to pick because people were very concerned about picking the right one. Don't worry about it. We picked some for you. You don't have to sign up for it with your own credentials. I gave them credentials, so they didn't have to worry about that. Again, the goal was to just sort of eliminate as many barriers as possible. And then people were given carte blanche to do whatever they wanted to. If they wanted to go through all the categories, great. If they just found one, like the image generator, and they wanted to spend the whole time on that, they did that. And that was fine. And again, I think that was what made it that helped make it a success. People really felt like they were empowered to explore and do some things with it. Next slide.
Okay, so following Gary's Try AI Day, AI started to obviously pick up some steam across the industry on campus, and we pulled a group together to discuss this concept of an AI sandbox in the libraries. So this conversation started in the fall of 2024, and it was between myself, our library technology team, our multimedia team, our research data support team, and Gary, who's really taken a lead on AI initiatives here at UVM Libraries. And the idea was that we would take our Center for Multimedia Development Lab, which is a creative technologies, emerging technologies lab. It offers high-power computing, Alienware computers, and Mac Studio computers, 3D printing and scanning, virtual reality, gaming research, statistical software, data visualization software, has the Adobe Creative Cloud and 3D modeling and ArcGIS, runs the gambit. So we thought we'd add AI into the mix too, because we're always constantly updating this lab and trying to add new features to it. And the idea was really to have kind of a soft start with turning on some of the AI plugins that are available in the Adobe Creative Cloud. And our staff who run that multimedia lab, the idea is they become familiar with these AI plugins, and we'd invite people in to try them out and see how they work. And later we talked about deploying some of the available AI and that would be emerging in the Mac Studio machines. And one of our colleagues in enterprise technology, they were a part of this group too, suggested adding Esri's deep learning for our ArcGIS. So all these great ideas were swirling, and we started talking to the larger ETS team about turning on some of these AI plugins, with the idea that we give curious UVM users a chance to use some of these emerging AI technologies. But we were foiled. ETS at its highest levels, at its administrative levels, we're not comfortable with releasing any of the AI plugins at that time. They wanted us to wait for guidance from that larger AI working group that UVM has that Gary described earlier. So it was time to punt. There's me punting a 1993 computer. We knew that we needed a simpler approach, and we needed something that was going to be a low barrier, something that wasn't going to cost the university money, require extensive tech review or permissions, if we really wanted to do something with AI. So you can hit the next one. So this is a little aside here, but there is context for it. So one of our colleagues in our research data support services team, Maria Skolnick, she offers a workshop series every other week called Coffee and Code. It is not an AI event. It's a drop-in workshop for coding with R. And she has a pretty good following of students and researchers who pop in week to week. It isn't always the same people. It's usually different folks. It happens every other Friday morning. Maria brews up a big urn of coffee, and it takes place in our library atrium, which is a public area, nice sunny spot. You'll see a picture of it in a few slides. And the idea with this is, instead of having to walk into a classroom and commit, an hour of your time, the idea is that you could walk up, talk to some friends and colleagues and Maria about what you're working on in R, and maybe get some help with your coding. So the idea is it's sort of easy come, easy go, very low stakes. And the program's been very, very successful. She found that it really helped to expand her reach on campus, and has definitely built her consultation program up quite a bit. So we took a look at that coffee and code concept and thought, well, that's a pretty low barrier event, and we decided we'd look at modeling a program that we'd come up with loosely on that. So Gary, you're up.
Yeah, so there were some bigger picture things that and some specific things that went into developing the AI Friday concept. One of them, remember, like I said, there was sort of this pressure to do something from upper administration, but then we also had this other, pushback from our technology leadership saying that, hey, maybe don't rush ahead so quickly, because what are you doing? And so we had to sort of thread that needle and kind of work between those two. There were a couple of groups involved in this. One of them was the AI working group that was the three of us. And we were sort of focused on sort of nuts and bolts issues. But we also reached out to another group in the university libraries, the Research Data Services Group, because they have their hands on technology and a variety of other aspects. And they had a lot of good ideas to contribute. And so all of this sort of got funneled in, and what we came up with is we decided that we needed something that was regularly scheduled and it was predictable. We sort of know that in general, and Maria's coffee and code thing definitely reinforced that lesson. So we decided to do that. We also wanted to focus on, so, each session we envisioned, talking about the pros and the cons about a particular AI tool, and then related issues like, ethical issues or environmental issues or something like that. But we wanted to talk about that in really broad strokes. And there were a couple of reasons for that. One, because the university doesn't have a policy in place yet. We didn't then, and we still don't now. We're working on it. So we didn't want to start saying something and then find out that the university made a decision that was different. So long story short, we decided to sort of act as like guides and not authorities. And I think that was really a useful way to go. And then again, sort of pulling from the Try AI Day model, we wanted something that was cost effective. We're no different than everybody else. We have budget issues. We wanted it to be a low barrier thing. We wanted people to be able to come and just explore. Like, you're not going to come and learn everything there is to learn about, Gemini or something like that. You're just going to come and sit down and play around with things and talk with people. That was the idea. Next slide.
Yeah, so our AI Fridays event series ended up kicking off this past semester, and it ran from January to May. And like Erin had mentioned, we modeled it after the coffee and code in the atrium, and we actually followed right after as well. So that meant the space was already cleared out for us, which was great. We didn't have to bump students from working on that area. Already had the coffee set up. You can see our AI generated picture right here. We would actually pull a big screen from the front of our library and pull it into this area, connect our laptop up for whatever AI tool that we were going to demo. And really what it was, easy setup, easy takedown. We were not trying to do any sort of formal evaluation. It was really keep it simple and informal so people could drop in. They could stay for 15 minutes. They could stay for the full hour. If they wanted, it was really just to make this sort of available and to get some conversations going around AI. So yeah, so again, just saying what really important to us was keeping this all AI agnostic. We didn't want to we weren't pushing any specific AI tool that we thought people should use or that people should use AI at all. We just wanted to create a way for people to get some hands-on experience. So this photo here, you see Gary kicked off our first event. He hosted one on ChatGPT with voice activation, and you can see just people around the table. It led to some really interesting conversations. So it's just a way to demonstrate how a tool works. People could bring their laptops and check it out on their own. Very low stakes. It freed us up because we weren't trying to be an expert on a particular tool. And again, that sort of drop-in format, come and go as you please. One thing to note is that we definitely did have more faculty and staff that came to these sessions than students. We did get students, but I think because it was in a larger space, it was still good for students kind of like were curious, like even as they walked by, like what was going on. But it was really created a time for us to also engage more with our colleagues. Yeah, and again, these conversations that happened were what we definitely felt were very important. We just kind of let them emerge organically. Some of the same topics would come up as, yeah, Gary and Erin alluded to, talking about bias, using AI ethically, what is the environmental impact, strategies, how can you work something into your daily work. And then again, just to hammer this point home is that we were not trying to push. We had no agenda with this. We didn't want to we're not pushing, advocating for any specific AI tool. We just kind of wanted to learn together with our students, faculty, fellow librarians, and staff to start just like playing around with this technology.
Okay, logistics and planning. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation outline, this part is fairly light by design, but we also did have some very good help. So to plan for the events, we worked with our research data support team, our AI working group, and some other library constituents to create an open call for ideas. So we sort of spitballed, brainstormed a bunch of ideas for AI Friday events in a meeting. And then we decided to come up with a sign-up sheet in Teams with dates, topic, and equipment needs. So we really left it up to the people who wanted to host these events to come up with their own topic. And equipment needs were pretty light in general. I think there were some requests for a whiteboard and markers, but mostly our big screen. And I think there was an image of that a few slides ago, which is I think it's a 75 or 85-inch screen that we roll over to use for these AI Friday events, that in your own laptop. So that was pretty simple. One guiding principle we had is that all of the AI tools have to be readily available in some way. So we did not have the capacity to purchase new AI tools or to go through tech review, which is a very long, lengthy process. The tools had to either be plugins that we could open up or release for temporarily for when we're doing these AI Friday events, or for the most part, freely available online AI tools. We then coordinated with our UVM libraries communications and events team to help promote the series. So the next few slides, I'll talk about that. So promoting AI Fridays was fairly simple. Our events team, our communications team did a great job of ensuring that our all of our AI Friday events made it to the UVM campus-wide AI events calendar. I shouldn't say AI, just the UVM events calendar. And then, of course, the events were posted on our library's website. Next. And our event planner, Kate, came up with a nice low-tech solution. She created a sandwich board that advertises the AI Friday events. The sandwich board is situated right out by our front entryway, which is incredibly busy when school's in session. We see pretty close to 8,000 visitors a day. So she'll put this out on a Wednesday so that people see it. If you don't see it, you're tripping over it. And this one here advertises Copy and Code and one of our AI Friday events on Primo AI Assistant. Next. And then Faith, one of our communications team members, came up with a number of slides that advertise the AI Friday events. And you can see here it's co-branded with Coffee and Code. These slides are posted on that same big screen I was describing that we roll over to use for AI Fridays. That screen usually sits right near our front entryway. So again, that's a very, very hard to miss screen. And that screen has all kinds of content that it advertises for, all kinds of campus events and whatnot. So these AI Friday events were on our big screen in Howe Library, but they were also being broadcast across campus. And I'll just show you a couple examples of two others that Faith made. So she made one for each of our events. This one advertises Notebook LM. You can see there's a QR code. That QR code will take you right over to the events calendar, so you can see all the different AI Friday events that are coming up. And then the next one advertises our AI Friday event on Illustrator and its AI plugins. And that was co-presented by Kristen Florian and Ann Dixon, who participate in our research data support team and our multimedia team. All right, so we're going to talk a bit about our AI Friday events. I'm going to have Gary lead it off because he was the one who hosted our inaugural event.
Yeah, so I hosted the first two, and I had a couple of different goals for each one. So the first one, chat with ChatGPT, because it was the first one and we were trying to pull people in, I wanted to try and use something that was pretty visual. So, as some of you may know, with ChatGPT, there's a voice option, so you can talk with it. And if you have the app loaded on your phone or a tablet, you can also give it permission to use your camera. And that's what I did. I brought my iPad in, and so I'm standing there talking and looking at things and saying, what do you think about this painting or whatever. The goal there was really to sort of grab people's attention. I tried to do kind of a wow thing. And sometimes when you do that, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Started because they're very data bandwidth intensive programs. It worked great in the beginning, but over the hour, between 10 and 11, more people jumped on. Things got a little, didn't work quite as well, but that was fine because it actually generated so much conversation about different aspects about AI that we actually spent as much time talking about things as I did demonstrating them. And then the second one we did was Notebook LM. That's from Google. That gives you the ability to upload your own sources of data. So like PDF files or Word documents or PowerPoints, and you can link to websites or whatever. And then you can query that data. And you're just using the LLM to query that data. And the reason that I did that one is because a lot of the feedback we were getting from people is that, like, sure, that's cool, but how do I know that the answer is accurate? Which is a very intelligent question to ask, and because you should be really, skeptical about it. But the hope was that because they were querying their own data sources, that they might know something about them. So that would give them the ability to, evaluate the answer that they got a little bit more. And again, it was just the hope was to kind of provide a space for them to be a little bit more comfortable with it. So those were those first two.
Yep. And then our third was hosted by one of our RDS consultants, our GIS consultant. She did one on using ChatGPT in tandem with ArcGIS. And interestingly enough, she found that she had a well-attended event. She found that overwhelmingly people were much more interested in just using ArcGIS than using Chat in order to enhance its features. So that was a pretty neat takeaway. The next one after that was done by a pair of our colleagues, one Kristen, who's our data visualization specialist, and the other Anne, who's one of our multimedia services consultants. They did an event on using some of the AI plugins in Adobe Illustrator. So they spent some time together working on this and experimenting with the AI to see if it's, actually generating new, fresh content, or if it's just kind of spitting out canned content. And then they were then presenting it in terms of its usefulness to people who would show up to the event, and that seemed to go very, very well. One I'm going to skip down to is CoPilot and AI do's and don'ts. This was actually hosted by our colleagues in Enterprise Technology Services. They caught wind of our AI Friday events because they're on the campus-wide AI team, and we were very open about what we were doing. They had some questions for us about what we were talking about, what we were discussing when it comes to AI, whether we were recklessly promoting it or what the story was. And after about talking with them for about 10 minutes, we all found that we were on the same page, and they wanted to join in on our AI Friday events. And right now UVM is pilot testing Microsoft's CoPilot. So they asked if they could do an event on CoPilot and then talk a bit about AI do's and don'ts. And really the CoPilot section of it was really sort of educational on really touching on the contract that we have with Microsoft, where if you use CoPilot, your data will not be shared to train the LLM at all. And in terms of the do's and don'ts, they were talking about more of AI in the wild. using free AI services to do things that you probably shouldn't do, like uploading a candidate's resume onto ChatGPT to ask it to review it, things like that. So that was a very well-attended event. I think the most well-attended event we had. It was kind of like standing room only. So that was a really cool collaboration, and I'll let Stacy talk about the other events.
Yeah, so then the other 3 events we had were demoing some research assistant tools. So that was Perplexity, Primo Research Assistant, and Cite. So Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine that does real-time web searches, answers questions, and then Primo Research Assistant is the AI research assistant tool built into our discovery. We don't have it turned on; we just have it in a beta site right now. So this gave us some opportunity to test it out with our colleagues, and you see it's on our calendar. It was on our calendar twice because we realized that our instruction librarians were away at the ACRL conference the first time that we ran the event. So we were able to run it again and have some of them join us, which was very useful. And then lastly, we also tried Cite. Cite we did actually have to get a trial for. So we had a limited trial, and we were able to demo that. And yeah, AI database mostly focused more on citation impact. And the cool thing is that the Cite demo that we did, we were actually able to use this model and become part of something larger, which was a research day open house that happened at the library. So you can see here in this picture that we use the same format, the same model of our AI Friday, the big screen, hook up our laptop to do a demonstration. But it was nice to be kind of part of, actually, it was a 2-hour event, but something larger. There was food, a lot of student traffic because we had other sessions on like virtual reality and podcasting. Our instruction librarians were out there with like citation help. So this was a really fun thing my colleague Molly and I hosted, and we, you'll see in this picture, our Vice President for Research and our Dean of Libraries also came by to test out this Cite research databases, which was great because we could ask questions about their own research. Interestingly enough, they found that it did a decent job. Like there was things that they uncovered that they're like, oh, I should have known about that. On the other flip side, they also discovered there was like seminal texts or things that they expected to find that were not there. So it was good to get sort of some of that feedback about 12 people that came throughout the day. So there's always someone at the table. Was 5 were students. But really, as we kind of keep talking about, what was really great about these sessions was the conversations that they sparked. So just the students that came by, they had those big questions like, how do you feel about the moral implications of AI? When is it okay for me to use AI? Expressing concerns about the environmental impact. One student shared with us how they knew some of their peers were like using AI to write their papers, but had figured out ways so that their professors could not, that they couldn't be caught using AI. And there was also concern from students just sort of about worrying about losing their critical skills. If you're outsourcing too much to AI, are you going to be able to summarize your own articles? So lots of interesting discussions. And one thing my colleague Molly and I did, we had set up next to our demo was this low-tech whiteboard where we was kind of a fun way to engage with students about how they're using AI. So we just asked a simple question: do you use AI? We also asked, are you using ChatGPT or Microsoft CoPilot? Because Microsoft CoPilot, as Aaron alluded to, it's the one AI tool across campus that ETS is comfortable with us using because the data, we have a license so that data is protected. And then also asking students about other tools that they're using. Now, this was what the whiteboard looked on a Friday before the weekend. And when we came back, this is what our whiteboard looked like, which was really super cool and interesting. We had you'll see that there was pretty much a lot of division. We had about 26 yeses that were using AI, 30 no's. So a lot of division about whether or not you should be using AI. Is just pulling out a couple notable comments. There was things like use your brain instead, extra embarrassing for a med student. so you can see there's a lot of like divide, like students themselves, even, you know, digital natives, also not really, you know, they're wrestling with how to use AI when, or if they even want to. And then it was cool to see the other tools that they are using, like DeepSeek, Grok, Elicit, and Gemini. So this was kind of like a super fun, low tech, cool way to engage with our students and get some easy feedback.
Okay, so some of the outcomes of AI Fridays, it really, I think, led to a lot of collaboration and helped us to develop deeper connections within our community. So one win for sure was our collaboration with ETS. They're definitely very interested in working with us on AI initiatives. They obviously hosted an AI Friday event, and that was very successful, and they were very glad that we invited them in. I actually was on a tour of our high-powered computing center, and the chief technology officer asked if we'd be interested in collaborating with them on future events that have to do with AI and technology. And of course, that's a great opportunity for us in the libraries. The other connection that we made, Gary and I both serve on that campus-wide AI working group, and we were asked by the vice president of research if we would the libraries would take a lead role in AI education efforts. They recognize the work that we've been doing in our AI Friday events. So that was also a great way to connect on campus. And I'll have Gary talk a bit about the Provost AI Committee.
Yeah, so we also had the ability to get some deeper connections with faculty on campus. So I was invited to sit on the Provost AI Committee, which was focused on teaching and pedagogy, and we had some specific deliverables. One of those being drafting some specific language for our academic integrity policy. And one of the things that was interesting about that is that we discovered that originally we thought we were going to have to write all these new policies and procedures that were related to AI. But in the end, we really discovered that, a lot of what we already have can be applied. So like we have a plagiarism policy. That doesn't change just because it's AI. AI just adds another angle to it. So that was definitely interesting. We're also building a seminar for faculty in the fall, where we'll talk about big issues and small issues as well. And then writing in the disciplines, probably many of you have a similar unit. It's devoted to helping faculty add writing components to their courses. And they offered their own series of AI related things having to do with faculty and writing. And Aaron and I got to participate in a couple of those. We led a couple of those. And then we were also there as members as well, to sort of on the other side of the table, so to speak. So we got to hear a lot of those things. Next slide, please. So takeaways, you can sort of see everything that's listed here, so I won't go into too much depth, but things that were real wins for us is that it was really easy to execute this thing, and it was cheap. Everyone's busy and nobody has a lot of money. So that's why, this fit well with those constraints. Leveraging expertise from our other collaborators, both in the libraries and outside, crucial to our success because they brought so much to it. All of these sessions were just amazing conversation starters. I mean, sure, you were there like typing things in and clicking buttons and stuff like that, but that almost ended up being extra in a lot of cases. The conversations were the real big hit for many of these sessions. And that leads into, building community. Aaron explained how, originally folks from ETS were not crazy about what we were doing. That went all the way from that to actually presenting in our series. So, we definitely have been able to build more community like that. Again, we also focused on this being low stakes. So, as librarians, we love to assess stuff, but we deliberately held ourselves back. So there weren't any outcomes. We weren't building something. We weren't, there was no surveys done or anything like that. The real outcome was, you know, were we able to generate some conversations and to connect people to some AI? And we feel like we did. And to go along with that, you know, clearly there was a lot of engagement for students and our colleagues. Next slide.
Okay, so the future of AI Fridays, I'll try to blow through this so that we can have a few minutes for questions. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We know it'll probably be different. We are awaiting some direction from our campus AI group. And I think that will definitely shape the way AI Fridays look next semester. We do know that UVM hopes to run some AI pilots. That's through that campus-wide AI group. It's called the Innovation Team. And we're hoping that the libraries will be able to help out in that. And we also think that there should be some opportunities to test some AI products for their usefulness in research. And I think that ties into the last point about UVM running some pilots. And finally, we do think that the libraries will be involved in AI education efforts. We've been asked by the provost and by the vice president of research to take a lead role in that, which is a big win for us. And of course, if UVM ends up adopting an official AI tool, we'll certainly be busy in some workforce training as well. So that's it.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us today. We're hoping that our AI Friday programming can inspire you to, think of something similar at your own library that doesn't require a lot of time, money, or expertise. So yeah, we had, as Aaron and Gary, it created some space and time to actually just talk across with our colleagues and engage our students. So open up to questions.
Thank you all so much. That was wonderful. We did have one question in the chat regarding your Try AI Day. Did you have the different AI tools like Bing Image, ChatGPT, etc., logged in on separate laptops? What did your setup look like?
So what we did was I created a LibGuide that had links out to each tool and to a page that provided some basic instructions. And then what I did was I gave each, people were in teams, and what I did was I gave each team a dummy email address and password so that they could create the account that they needed to create in order to use the tool with that, and they didn't have to use their own credentials. That was a pain in the neck, by the way, but it was the only way I could get around getting people logged in without having to commit to using their own credentials. And I'd be happy to talk more about that if somebody wanted to email me directly.
Thank you, Gary. We had another question. You mentioned for one of the events that you had, okay, we already answered that one. The Try AI Day and AI Friday events are wonderful examples of how librarians being proactive in the exploration of Gen AI and getting library users to be actively engaged and hands-on. You mentioned that not as many students were in attendance to the AI Fridays events. Do you think you would host a session only for students and one for only faculty and staff? Why do you think student attendance may have been lower, and what would you do differently?
I think when you see a bunch of olds sitting around a table, it could be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
But we did have students show up for sure. It was a mix.
Yeah.
And
the students that
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Stacy.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the students that did come and sit down with us were very engaged and had had us, especially some of the research tools, had us ask them some really interesting research topics. So I felt like the students that even though we got less students, we still got some really good insights from them.
I think it might be interesting if you've got student groups on campus that already meet, to see if they wanted to get together and have a talk. So we have several centers on campus that focus on certain student groups. I could see us reaching out to them and saying, hey, would you like us to come over and have a chat sometime? Or something like that.
We only have 1 minute left, but we had a question. Did participants bring their own devices or did you provide them?
They brought their own.
BYOD.
Yep.
also simplifies things.
Mhm.
We do have
Did-
another question in the
You're
chat.
asking about if people brought their own, yeah.
But I don't know that we have time because we're just at 1:45 right now. So I'm gonna officially end the session right now. Let's thank our presenters for a wonderful presentation. And if they are able to stick around and answer Cynthia's question, welcome to
Yeah,
do
I
that.
can definitely stick around a little bit.
For sure.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, Cynthia's asking, it came up during conversation. I'm curious how universities and students are handling AI in relation to plagiarism. Do students have any guidelines yet for what they can and can't do with AI in regards to research projects and writing?
Yeah.
So they will, fingers crossed, by the end of the summer. And it probably will be pretty similar to what a lot of other folks are seeing, in the sense of, you know, the real trick, right, is like, well, how much AI can I use, or where in the process can I use it? And I think that different places are sort of drawing that line. And for us, I mean, I feel like where things are leaning is that, one, it will be up to the instructor to say, like, maybe they might say, I don't want you using AI for this course at all. Or someone else might say, you can use it for, you know, the brainstorming part or something like that. So they're going to try to, I think they're going to try to approach it from that angle, in terms of plagiarism, but it will remain to be seen how well that works out.
Yeah, it's a tough question everywhere. All right,
Yeah.
thank you so much, presenters. That was wonderful.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mandy.
it.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, see you all at the final keynote.
All right.
Bye.
Great.